Hey guys, welcome to my tutorial for making new talk conversations in Path of Radiance. I had to make a lot of talk conversations for 4 writers, and I'm gonna have to make some anyway, so I thought I might as well just do it in a tutorial. And I've got some visual aids over here and Photopea pulled up to kind of visualize what I'm doing with the syntax and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be making a info conversation. Um, that's a part of the base. But this also applies for support conversations. So they're both applicable, but there might be some small differences that I'll mention along the way. Anyway, I've kind of typed out the script, like what they're going to say, and maybe some, stage directions just for my own notes and stuff like that. But I'll show you how we can turn that into the text that's used by the actual game to put things on the screen. So we can start with one here. We're replacing this info conversation from the vanilla game from chapter 25. And basically, yeah, this first part says that it's a background conversation. All support conversations use this big background and the blue text box, as well as the portraits that are larger as opposed to this small portrait size. So if we looked at the text, right now it's in its YAML form .yml, but typically it starts out in the .cmb. And if you look at your extract game files, you go to files and mess for message. And it'll be this like Objective-C source file if you've got Windows. And if you scroll down to where it is, it's going to be C26 for me. And you can drag this into Lumina and it'll make it into a YAML. And I find that's easier to work with as opposed to the Paragon module called Role Dialog Editor. Anyway, it's also the same for the support conversations. They're all in Yell, so you can convert them as well and then open them up in their YAML form. There's some quirks about using YAML. The kind of key name is going to look like this, and then everything after it has 2 spaces. But whenever it gets converted back to this Objective-C file type, all that will go away and it'll not have these spaces. But just keep that in mind. So yeah, the first part is it's a background conversation, which the info conversations and support conversations are of this type. And then we've got a command that's money sign B. And this is the background. So B is background. And there's some Japanese text which denotes what background it is. The way to figure out what background you want to use, you can go into the game, and if you've got debug mode enabled with the Gecko code, which you can find in the Discord, Path of Radiance address repository. If I just hop into like a random chapter and look at the debug mode, you find navigate to visualize and look at dialog background. And we can kind of scroll through them all and find the one that looks good. You notice that the size here is correct for the background kind of conversation, where the bottom third is blacked out. And then you could maybe take a screenshot of this if you wanted to use this one, and maybe get AI to transcribe it into something you can copy and paste into your YAML file. Anyway, next part, we see that all these are kind of separated by these spacers. And we're going to keep going. Money sign and this less than, I'm pretty sure this means that it's fading in, but I'm not 100% sure. It's just at the start of all these loading of portraits. I'm not 100% sure what this is, but something you include and don't really think about. All right, so when we get to this part, now we can start using the photo editor that I've pulled up. And when it's money sign F1, the way that you could think about this is that it's kind of like targeting the F1 spot. So I've kind of labeled F0 through F4, and that they're all kind of targeting this like frame or face spot. So in the vanilla stuff that we have here, we have F1. So think about it, when it calls this command for money sign F1, it's kind of like selecting it. We can just take out all this original stuff because we're going to replace it. And I'll worry about the background later. But we see in this kind of stage direction that Vasily is turned away from the entrance, deep in thought. Now, here for the face spots, 0 through 4, they're kind of all facing the typical way, but there's actually a way to make so that they face away. So if we want him to be here, I'll just bring up this visual for these face spots or frame spots, and that for F6 here, which we're going to use, it actually flips the portrait so that they're facing the opposite direction away from whoever's on the left side. So that's going to be handy here. And before we load the portrait, we do want to kind of select this spot, the F6 spot. So first thing we're going to type is F6. And yeah, it might kind of auto kind of fill in what it thinks it's correct, but Copilot or whatever AI you're using might not always be correct. So it's kind of important to know what is actually right here. Anyway, so we're selecting the F6 spot, and we want to load this portrait in because right now it's not actually loaded. It's not loaded in. But the way to load it in is to use, well, it's kind of right about this. This money sign FC command, and it is not FCL. It's actually FC, and that loads in the portrait. If we look in Paragon at the faces module, we can actually see that it's kind of targeting this file, which starts with L for large, and then the actual name. So the command is money sign FC. Maybe like face change, you can remember it, something like that. But it's the one that actually loads it in. So if we're kind of visualizing over here, he's loaded into the spot, Vasily. And then we could do the spacer. And let's see, so we did this part. He's deep in thought, and we want him to start talking. So to get him to start talking, we can select the spot that he's in, F6, and then start writing text. So, of course, to select it, we're just going to do F6. And we do need to do this, which is the command for starting a new paragraph. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if you really need to do it since there's no text on the screen right now. But it's a good habit to get into. And you can see in the vanilla text that they do it as well. But that's usually because something else is in front of it and it kind of clears the text before it. So if we have this sample text, which one is that? Yep, sample text. What the money sign P does is that if you've ever played the game, of course you have, it will kind of scroll the text upwards out of view. And that's kind of starting a new paragraph, giving more space for the new text to appear in. So money sign P, and then we can just start typing, or in this case, I'm just going to copy and paste it in here. and then maybe do some edits. So I'm gonna include some pauses, some waits. Like after this comma, I would like, as the text is kind of scrolling through, for there to be some pauses, um, instead of just all going through. I think it looks better like that. So usually after a comma, I do money sign wait two. So this is like 2 frames. You could think of it like that, or two. It's definitely not seconds, but it's a small amount of time. And the W actually needs to be lowercase. Almost every time the command is uppercase, but for here it's lowercase, and it is case sensitive. So we can kind of just put that after the punctuation, and I think it looks good if there's waits after each period for the dot dot dot. But it's definitely a stylistic choice. So this is not like a a one-to-one spacing thing for the visualization, but you can see that it is kind of going off the frame. The correct is off the page. So the way to actually fix that in here is to just, yeah, do a return or new line. And if this spacing is what it's actually going to be, then it'll just go to the next line. You don't need a special command for that. It's just enter on the keyboard. Alrighty. And since that is going to be the end of him talking, we do need to enter in a new command, which is money sign capital K. You can think of K as like some kind of jank continue, continue spelled with a K, but if I remember which one it is, oh, it's this one, yeah. It will have this little triangle floating up and down, asking for the player to press A before continuing on to the next thing, and then it will scroll new text probably. So yeah, after a paragraph or after someone's done talking, you can put in a money sign K. All right, so that's it. Now we have Zell enters room door SFX. So we do need him to enter. So if we enter a new line, and we can load him in. Now, which F slot do we use? We don't want to use the one where he's facing the other direction, so not F5, but if we bring up the guide, we do want to use F1 or F0, but probably just F1. And we're going to load it in. So that's FCL and then Zelgi us. And the spacer, F1 again, selecting it again. I'm pretty sure this is not actually necessary, but doesn't hurt to select again. And to do that paragraph will definitely make this text scroll away. Since we changed the speaker, we definitely need to do that. And we don't want to have him talk yet. So actually before, the P would mean that he's going to start talking basically. But we do want to have a special command for playing SFX, and it's going to be in the script, but we'll maybe do that later. But it's money sign UBH. They're always together. I don't know why. And don't ask me what UB stands for or why the B is undercase and the U is capitalized, but this tells the script. Well, I'll just bring it up anyway. If we go over here and we see the talk event, you don't need to know too much about scripting, but it tells the kind of text file you need to continue going after the script. And if there's like something over here, like SFX play, blah, 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 then it's going to play this, and then it's going to wait till there's a talk resume function, and then it's going to go immediately and pick up after the H. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing supports, then you don't really need to worry about all the scripting stuff and sound effects because you can't do it in supports yet. But if you're doing it for conversation, that is an option. Okay, so he enters and we get this door sound effect. And we do need to start, let's see. So we don't have him talking yet, and we need to make him turn towards Zelgis. So that means that we're not actually going to do this here. And we need to get rid of the current. Let me just put this right here. Here we go. We need to get rid of the current Vasily and swap them out for the one that's actually facing Zelgis. So how do we get rid of him? We do the command for selecting the spot he's in, which is going to be F6 because he's facing away. We need to select F6 and then do the command for face delete, which is, FD, face delete. So I will delete him. Alrighty. So it's going to delete the face that was in the F6 slot. And we'll just take that down for now. And we actually need to load the new one in a new slot, which is not going to be that. It's going to be these normal slots that you're going to deal with most of the time. It's quite rare to use the other ones where they're facing in odd directions, but it could be useful to add some flavor to the scene. All right, so let's load them into F3. Sometimes if they're like huge, like Ashnard is quite large, you might want to space them farther out, but F1, F3 is kind of most standard. Let's type in the YAML F3 and face load. If load is spelled with a C, L Vasily. Wow, it's on top of it today. And just like the AI suggests, they know what's up. So yeah, a lot of this you can autocomplete, but it doesn't always know what's in your script that you wrote up before. Anyway, so we've selected the frame again, and we've put them in there. We've selected F3. We've started a new paragraph. So this went away. Yep, we started a new paragraph, and we got some more text. So let's just paste it in. And so we've got a exclamation mark here, and usually in the vanilla, they actually wait for around 4 frames, if you want to call it that, after a period or exclamation or question mark. 4 frames for that, and 2 right here. Sometimes 3, they could be inconsistent, and it's up to you. And that will probably all fit in one text box. Really, for like the spacing, I just eyeball it and then fix it later. Sure, if you made a program that used the exact same typeface that the game used, then maybe you could find some solution. But for now, you can kind of just tell how big it is for the most part. Sometimes when you have these big lines of text that are just commands, like loading portraits in, then it can be hard to judge. But yeah, this is definitely not a full line. So there we go. And yeah, actually, we don't need to wait on this last part because it's the last part of the line. So we could just do K for continue, which is going to put in that little triangle like this and tell the player to press the A button. Alrighty, so this is the first time we're going to actually pass it back to Zelgis, where he's going to give a insightful comment. So F1, P, selecting, just so you remember, we're selecting F1. We're doing P for starting a new paragraph so that young Zelius kind of scrolls up to the top, and we're gonna have this very insightful ... ellipse, and I like to put in some weights. Cool. And so here, you don't need to like say Zilgius or anything or type Zilgius. You just select, since he's already loaded in, you select F1 and then put it in. Pretty simple. So yeah, Vasily talks again. So we're going to select the F3 spot, start a new paragraph. And if we look at this vanilla code down here, or text down here, we see this FS, which is kind of like face smile. But in 4Writers, I don't actually have different variations for the faces, and they're all static, so I don't deal with that. But technically, you could use that to make them use the smiling face. Each face has two variations, usually an angry one or neutral, and a smiling, happy one. But you could use that already. So yeah, this is what he says. So paste it in. And this one probably does take up whole lines, so we can just enter and K for continue. Press the A button. All right, and let's keep it going until we actually have to worry about doing something different. Pretty simple. Put in some weights. A lot of this is just copy and paste and doing minor edits. This one is a bit longer, so there could be something to be said for this, but it still probably isn't going to be 3 lines. Let me just do this one for now. So if we skip ahead and look at this one, so this would be Vasily, who's in the 3rd slot, and paste it. Let's just get the spacing correct. Okay, so the problem with this is that this text box over here is only 3 lines lengthwise, or up and down. So if you have more than 3 lines, then you are going to need to do something special. So let's say that this is going to be 1 line, this is 2 lines, 3 lines, and then we have some extra text remaining. What you can do is that you can kind of start a new paragraph where you can insert the K here, which is that little triangle, get the player to press A, and then scroll to a new section. And that's not correct. Anyway, you'll actually scroll all this text up and you'll start a new paragraph, so nothing overflows or something. And yeah, do another K. And yeah, it should be pretty simple. I could go through the rest of this, but nothing would be too crazy. Once you get to the end, you really don't have to enter anything crazy, like a new command. Sometimes, I don't know if we can find an example, but sometimes they'll have, here we go. They'll have like this, which is the fade amount, the fade out, how slowly it fades out. So this is over like 2,000 frames or something like that. Pretty long, but you actually don't need to have this, and it's quite fine just to not have it. But yeah, let's see what it looks like in game. So just in case you didn't know how to see it in game, you would end up saving this file and then dragging this into Lumina to convert it back to this Objective-C source file. And then if you need some scripting, make sure the talk event has the right name, and you've got enough talk resumes if you have the UBH command in there, but we don't need to worry about that right now. Transfer your script over if you need to. So yeah, I compiled and then move it over. Let's get to the base. So, got an info conversation with Mr. Zelgius. And I didn't actually find the right background, but that's fine. Alright, looks like it's all good, and looks like my intuition was correct about the spacing for this. Yeah, this would kind of go off the frame a bit. Alright, yep, we've got him turning around. That's good. Blah! Alright, dot dot dot. And you can see that the dots kind of took a while to come out because of the weights. Okay, wow. I've done it enough that I have the intuitive spacing just on autopilot. Okay, we have a mistake. It didn't actually have the continue. Oh, and we have maybe a little bit of a spacing error. So if we go back to here, and yeah, we forgot to have the K here. Money sign K, so that's good. And yeah, it looks like this is gonna run off the page, and we can just see what that looks like. Maybe it's gonna crash. Yep, it did crash. So yeah, I mean, if you don't actually fix it, then it will look at this in game, and it's part of the process. Just checking it over and making sure the spacing is good. Okay, so if we just move over and then maybe encounter is where we're going to do the next line break. Let's just fix that. All right, and you can see that this is 3 lines right here, and then continue, and then we start a new paragraph, and then we can kind of see that if this lines up, then we'll probably have to do a line break like this. All right, save it up, and let's look at it again. Alrighty, take 2. All right, yeah, looks good. And then we start a new paragraph. And we've got a spacing error, but not something we can't fix. Well, anyway, I hope that gives you kind of a general idea of the workflow of creating new talk conversations. If you have any questions about that, then let me know, and I can get back to you and maybe help you out. Thanks for watching.